Hey all, Chris Bassett here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I built my wooden truck rack to haul around oversized cargo on my Ford Ranger. Let's get into it. So I'm going to be taking advantage of my stake pockets, which are the holes in the bed of the truck. These square holes are designed to accept 2x4s, boards, or other objects, and can be used to secure cargo and tie downs. I'm going to take a couple measurements. I'm going to see how deep the holes go, the top of the cab of the Ranger, because I want the material to clear everything, the distance between all four holes, and then we're going to use those measurements to create a frame. Also, alternatively, my truck bed liner has these notches cut out where I could place some boards to create a framework as well. I had some 2x6s laying in the garage, so I'm going to start by using those. I'm going to create 4 posts, one for each stake hole. I'm going to use 32 inches from top to bottom. That's from the bottom of the stake hole to the top of the cab. I'm going to notch out the bottom part of the post so it'll fit inside the stake hole. That hole was approximately 2 inches thick by 1.5 inches wide and then 5.5 inches deep. So we're just going to cut those pieces off and it should slide right into the hole. One thing I did want to be mindful of was the height. You don't want to block your third tail light. That could possibly cause a moving violation. And then if the material on the truck rack is flimsy, if your truck rack's too short, it may smack the top of your cab. I have some basic tools, a circular saw, rotary saw, handsaw. I'll put links in the description if you want to buy some tools through an Amazon link. Really appreciate that. So once your post is finished, I go ahead and dry fit it, make sure it fits in the box. I did have to do a little sanding so it wasn't such a tight fit, but it did go. And then you want to go ahead and repeat the process 3 other times so you have a total of 4 posts. So I do want my truck rack to be able to be set up and tore down pretty quickly. So I'm going to build this like Lincoln logs. I'm going to notch a couple of notches on each post, and then it'll create a cross member. And then we're going to do this to secure both the width and the length of the truck rack while maintaining structural strength. We want to be able to hold, 1,000 pounds or more. So we're going to create like a cross member there. So we're going to cut out the top almost in like a fork fashion so that the cross members will sit on top of each other. So take a few more measurements. I'm going to use another 2x6 board and I'm going to cut it at about 70 inches for the width of the truck. I'm taking the posts now and I'm going to notch out the measurements, which is like 1.5 inches width by 5.5 depth. I'm going to cut that out with the circular saw, and then I had to break out the rotary saw as well. Make it a little easier on myself just to zip it straight down since all these edges are square. You could also use a drill, pre-drill some holes, and then use like a jigsaw to cut straight across. But this is the tools that I'm using. So have the posts made out, and there's my 70-inch cross beam. So you can see it'll just set up there and they'll just rest in there. So this is going to snap together like Lincoln logs. That way I can just tear it down and set it up pretty quickly. Now that the cross member's into position, we're going to need to secure the ends so it doesn't slide apart. So we're going to add those pieces that we've been cutting apart out of the notches. We're going to use that as like a tab. So we're just going to screw it on the end here, and that way it will secure the top part from sliding side to side. I'm going to squeeze it together and take the smallest measurement that I can, and then we're going to go ahead and add the top tabs. So I'm using like 3-inch decking screws, just 2 in each tab to hold it in place. I didn't pre-drill any of the holes, but if your wood's brittle, you might want to do that just so you don't crack the wood. So there, now you can see the top cross member just slides into place. You apply a little bit of pressure and it slides down in there. It's held securely by tension, so you're good to go. Go ahead and repeat the process for both the front half and the back half of your truck rack, and then you're going to want to support the lengthwise of the truck rack. So take a measurement of the distance between the two. Mine's like 60. I do squeeze it so it comes out to like 64.5 because I want to create tension and make it all tight. So I grab some boards, cut those at 64.5. And for these, I'm only going to notch out the top half. So the idea here is that the top of the rack is basically just supporting the side-to-side motion. It's not actually bearing any weight. So the boards that we didn't cut will hold, 95% of the weight. And these are just to control the shape of the truck rack and then prevent material from sliding to the left or to the right. So just squeeze those into place, they drop in, and then that creates that square cube shape that's going to be strong and keep the material you're transporting in place. So the next day, this is an image of what the truck rack looks like, assembled with all the sides. I do like how the top comes off, because if you're ever having anyone load material with like a forklift, you just pop that top rack off, and then they can just drive the forklift straight in, load it straight to the top. We're going to do the same where we secure everything with the tabs, and then I'm going to cut those edges off just because they're sticking out, and it'll just look a little more aesthetic. So you can see I'm going to put the tabs to control those top boards, and there's your finished truck rack. Works out pretty well. If I had to guess, I'd say this truck rack could hold around 1,000 pounds if your boards are all in good condition. Hey, check out this other video right here. I've got Amazon links down in the description for some of the tools I used. If you want to help out the channel at no cost to you, use out those links. I really appreciate it. Any questions or comments, put below. Thanks.